subscribers. So I wrote a little bit down. I wanted to share this with y'all. So uh, I have a video that I posted with Jeff Reese going to a town meeting and talking crap about me basically. So I just want to go ahead and address some things. First of all, Jeffries and his cousins, whose name I cannot say because she took a restraining out order out on me, they're Facebook friends with these people, just so everyone knows. So Jeffries was the main person that the Gibsonville police coerced to lie for them. Uh, and so the problem is he took it upon himself to involve himself in something that had nothing to do with him. Now his cousins and they were calling the police on me, as far as I know, and harassing me. And then he stuck his nose in it. He stuck his nose in it. Him, his son, and some other guy that I don't even know lied on me. I take that shit very personal. He lied on me, and now he's upset that I'm reaching out. So let me address. He says that I'm talking about the town employees. What he's talking about is when I'm calling out Ben Baxley for having the DA threaten me, which yeah, I have. What he's also talking about is me talking shit about the Gibsonville police because they're shit. You know, there are other people that are dealing with stuff. There are other people that are dealing with stuff from them. We're victims, and then because of friendships, we get pushed aside. Now, let's talk about the police. He said something about he's tired of the police coming to his home. They don't do anything. Let's just get that out of the way. He's trespassed on my property after being trespassed. He's trespassed on my property. Him and his son backed up their vehicles on their loud ass vehicles on our yard and started revving their engines really loud. That isn't behavior you do when you're afraid of somebody. You don't antagonize people when you're afraid of them. Riding up and down on our streets with quads, and they're terrified. So playing loud music, like super loud, not just kind of at mid volume, but I mean excessively, having their families come and back up their trucks and play loud music. It's all on YouTube. All this stuff is on YouTube. You know, harass. What about us? Okay, and let's check this out. And he mentions about me losing in court. Yeah, I did lose in court. You know why I lost in court? I lost in court because his lawyer paid off the judge, or I don't know if he paid him off, but they had already decided the case before I even went to court. As a matter of fact, I posted this on YouTube because I filed a complaint against. You want to say anything, Carrie? I filed a complaint against Magistrate Crab. That was the judge that oversaw the case. So I didn't that when I sued him. That's what he's talking about. That he sued me and lost. So this guy is telling facts that he himself paid for in a sense. It doesn't mean much to say that I lost the case when you paid off the damn DA. I mean, when you paid off the magistrate, when the DA that you helped lie for is in there. It doesn't mean much to mention something that you did. Well, he lost. Yeah, I lost because he paid off the magistrate. So I'll run it back. So I sued him for lying, and the magistrate refused to hear any of the evidence. She refused to hear my case. That's the case he's talking about. It would have been different if I had lost because the evidence wasn't there, but I lost because because they were refusing to hear it. I keep mentioning the DA because I'm so stuck on that bitch because she knew that I was innocent and still pursued it. Notably, if you look at the first case, Jeff Reese wasn't even present. Jeff Reese, his son, were not even mentioned until my appeal, when they couldn't get their buddies to lie, when it was an outside judge coming in. That's when Jeff Reese was called to lie, but he's not in the report or mentioned ever until then. And then when the videos played, you tell me if this is coercion. Now, Jeff, we need you to help our police officer That's what Rebecca Dixon said as she was blocking me on Facebook. They blocked me on Facebook, on the Getsville Facebook, which is illegal. And then they did all this stuff. They got him to lie. CPS has come to our house twice because of them. But we're the problem? No. Also, as far as yeah, they had me trespass, and he's talking about it. And they didn't even have me trespass for like a legal reason. They had me trespass because I didn't want to hear what I had to say. That is so. If you notice, look at the way they treat him. They're not mean to him. They just hear what he has to say. But when I went to court, they were mean to me. You could look. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. They said, "Well, we got if you remember, the mayor intern Mark Shepard, who's Facebook friends with them as well. Um, we got staff to handle that. We got staff to handle that before I was trespassed, like a couple days later, or excuse me, a couple weeks later. We have staff to handle that. So I didn't break any laws, and it's all there. I left peacefully, as you saw, and then I was trespassed. So if you look at the way Jeff Reese talks, he's talking to them. He's talking to them, his friends, and he's doing it on a public spot. So what about my family? Because I can't go out there and speak. He's talking about his wife is afraid. How do you think we feel? My wife can't go up the road without being afraid of getting attacked. I feel the same way. I'm not. I mean, like I'm nervous of them jumping me or doing some offhanded stuff because they've gotten away with it. They've gotten away with it. I mean, look. And then he mentions I want to mention his wife. His wife was recording. His wife was recording when doing a traffic stop. My car got towed home. My car got towed because I didn't have enough time to get somebody to come get my car when my license was suspended. And my license was suspended because I had been missing court for a registration because they would his cousin took a restraining order on me, and they kept continuing the case, and it fell on when I was supposed to pay. And so, that's how we feel. It's all about how he feels. But if you look, he's comfortable talking with him. He's upset at me. To be honest, I wish he would move. He started all this shit by lying for the police. By lying. And if you look at him, you can tell. It's like, well, and moving on. What would it matter if the SBI or FBI is involved? Honestly, if I have nothing to be ashamed of or nothing that I've done wrong, it doesn't bother me. And for me personally, I want the FBI to get involved. I want the SBI to get involved because there are other people that this shit's going on with. The Angie Ryan lady, it's terrible what she went through. I can only imagine. I can only imagine because we're dealing with shit. I lost. Let me tell you, he's worried about what shit he lost. I lost $500,000, $500,000 because of them. And I'll tell you how I lost it. Lawyers. I paid Don Dickerson, the first lawyer I had, paid him $1,500 to represent me because this was an easy case. I felt like it was obvious a civil rights violation. Don Dickerson refused to gather the information that I asked for, the dispatch, any supporting information, and I had to get it. Guess what? There are no calls to my house. He even admitted this. Don Dickerson admitted that there was no calls to my house, and that the police fabricated this on a recording that when he didn't know he was being recorded. Because my wife had, I made sure that she filmed it. One of us was filming when we were talking with him. But this same guy wouldn't bring any of this stuff up in court. But then I hear other people, notably Jennifer Guy. She seems a little bit crazy to me, so I don't fully understand. But she's saying that he's friends, like his name is on deeds with other lawyers. He's got family in Alamance County. That may or may not be true. I don't know. But from what I've seen so far, they are all corrupt. And then, so he didn't say any of this stuff. These witnesses, Jeff Reese, his son, none of these people were ever mentioned at first. They weren't mentioned, and you would think if they're witnesses, they would have been there doing the first trial. They would have had something to say. and they said all this lying ass shit. Hi, Mr. Bo, whoever you are. But they said all this lying ass stuff. And this is during the second trial. They weren't there during the first trial. And you would think if they had such, if they were so righteous, they would have been there. But they only came when they couldn't use their connections, locally. The judges and a lot of these people deal with each other. They're Facebook friends. They go golfing and shit like that. But then during the appeal, my lawyer came to my house, John Cox, and I come to find out he's Facebook friends with Ron Parrish. And I've said this numerous times during my appeal. The lawyer that I had hired, that was recommended to me by somebody, was Facebook friends with Ron Parrish. Ron Parrish and Rebecca Dixon are directly tied to this family. So is the DA, Sean Boone. Sean Boone is Facebook friends with the cousin. I know for a fact because I had somebody look. And that's the issue. A lot of these people are friends with each other. Jeffrey Reese, he should have minded his damn business. He should have minded his business and stay out of it. But he's a bootlicker, and wants to see that the officer doesn't get any penalties. But what about my family? What about my family? He should have minded his business. He shouldn't have lied for these people. If I was truly wrong, I would have no problem. But I wasn't wrong, and I'm not going to say that I ever was, and I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep making these videos until somebody does get involved. I would love for him to leave, because I hate it here. I hate it here. Anybody watching my videos, look at what I said in the town meeting, and it's all up there, and look at me being trespassed. If y'all, you really want some clarity. $500,000. 12, and then so Don Dickerson, I paid him after losing, paid him another $5,000, hoping that maybe, I was, because I had studied law in court. I studied law in college, and I was hoping like maybe there was something I was missing. But the more that I dove in, the more I saw corruption. John Cox, I paid $4,000, and I only paid him over the other lawyers because the other lawyer, I had to have it all up front, but he was going to let me make payments. And then John Cox changed it up on me where I have to have it all at one time. John Cox came to my house, or he didn't come, but he sent Theo Goodrich. Theo Goodrich saw that number one, Jeff Reese doesn't even live, is a neighbor, but he doesn't live across the street, which is what he testified to. That's perjury for anybody listening. When you knowingly lie, that's perjury. There's a big difference as opposed to knowingly lying and then saying something that you thought, but it turns out to be true. That turns out to not be true. But knowingly lying is perjury, and Jeff Reese did that. Another thing, his kids, he had multiple kids. No, nobody was outside. My daughter came outside after my friends left and walked with me because my daughter is a daddy's girl. The other one's a mommy's girl, but they came outside. One was asleep. One was a freaking baby. Kids were never alone. We're the problem, though. He claims that, and this is testimony, and I'm working on getting it. Jeff Reese claims that I chased my wife and that they were riding up and down. But you know what? You can hear his loud ass vehicles any other time. But doing that video, you can't. And if you watch it, it's over an hour long. But really, about 20-30 minutes of it is at my house. You don't see Jeff Reese or anybody. You saw Jordan, you saw my wife, and you saw my kids after everything. But you don't see them. You don't. The people that were there, the people that were in that video, that came to court the first time. Jeff Reese wasn't there because he wasn't in the video. Jeff Reese didn't see any of this stuff. The problem is these people are lying. The problem is they're lying and they're getting destroyed in the opinion of people. I'll tell you something else. When I go on Nextdoor, my account's been flagged. Anytime that I try to say anything, My account gets flagged. My account gets suspended. Same thing with my wife. We had never had issues with police until moving here. And I solely believe it was because my wife told him I was biracial. It's not her fault, and we argued about that, but it's not her fault. They caused all this crap. And I'll tell you, when all this stuff before the harassment, my wife was cool with them. She wasn't cool with Jeff, but even Clarence didn't like Jeff. He told me he didn't like Jeff. My wife was cool with Clarence and cool with Nancy, even though Nancy did come off a bit racist, but she's old, she comes whatever. I didn't care. Me, I didn't really ever see them. I worked a lot. So I came over to Clarence's house once or twice to get my kids, but that was it. But I didn't know Mitzi, I didn't know any of these people. But it started after Clarence asked my wife my ethnicity, and she told him. And I had never been ashamed of me being biracial. Never been ashamed of it. But, I never would have thought that would be the reason why we're being mistreated. Because what else could it be? Because it's like, we stayed to ourselves. My wife went over there and was friends with, and was mainly talked to Clarence. So Clarence obviously told his wife, which we don't care. The main issue wasn't with Clarence. It was with his family. Initially in the video, I thought that Clarence had called because his wife admitted to calling, but again, I've never had a problem with Clarence or his wife. Now, he did do some creepy stuff that I thought was creepy, but my issue was never with him. It was with their family. As a matter of fact, I miss Clarence, to be honest, because all this crap wouldn't have allowed. He had his faults, I can say that. He had his faults. But he would have never let this shit go on. As a matter of fact, he went to court with us before he passed away. He went to court with us because he knew it was wrong. He went to court. And this is, he had passed away before the final trial, but he had gone like he thought this was bad. But it wasn't necessarily him. It was his family using his name to pull strings to harass us. All we've been doing is trying to get help. But the problem is, all these people would protect an officer that fucked up rather than an innocent family. That's where the problem lies. That is where it lies. And we lost so much. In addition to that, I had to pull out. If anybody knows about the stock market, I had $20,000 in Palantir when it was $15 a share. It went all the way up to 110. I had to sell it at $50 a share to pay for living and all this stuff. I would have been, and then I had TSMC, which is I had to sell it at 160. It went all the way up to 250, and I had 80 shares of that. I had all these other stocks that I had to sell out of to survive because of what they did. Not to mention, my daughter's got PTSD. She has separation anxiety. They caused issues with me and my wife. We were a happy family before all this stuff. And then we're being made out the problem? No. I have all these videos of them harassing us, rioting, doing stuff, and we're being made out to be the problem. So I just wanted to say, for all y'all, watch the videos. Watch my videos, please. I'm trying to get justice, because what happened to my family is terrible. So I'm signing out, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.